Oh my goodness, there's so many amazing new announcements coming out lately. It's just like a fantastic time to be a sound mixer, because there's always these amazing new products we're coming out, we're getting able to use in our work. And so what's happening at the moment is that every year the biggest event that's a trade show in our industry is NAB, but the biggest over in Europe is IBC, and IBC in itself is a really big event, really big trade show, and that's just happening this week. And so lots of announcements has been coming out just before IBC, and not just IBC, like there's so many announcements back at NAB earlier this year that I feel like I didn't get around to talking about. And between the NAB and IBC, like for instance the new second generation mixed pre-recorders, which I really think Sound Advisors has done like a great job in like upping their game and closing that gap with what Zoom has done. And because the Zoom F series was quite revolutionary, I think, in that lower tier market. And I thought their first generations from Sound Advisors, the mixed pre's, were a really good effort, and it was really great to see Sound Advisors entering that market and offering other options for people to buy, because some people do prefer them. Everybody's got their own tastes, but I felt like that Sound Advisors was still lagging, and I felt the Zoom F series sort of had the edge there. But now, the second generation, they're actually quite appealing. I must say, I'm thinking about maybe even picking up a mixed pre myself. In fact, actually, another big announcement with Sound Advisors, it just came out, the 833. I'll put my pre-order down for that. But anyway, so much stuff I said to talk about. But I just wanted to do a really quick video just about one particular item that I just saw got announced today, and that is the new Tentacle Sync Track E. And so that's a new product from, of course, well, Tentacle of all people. And it's basically, it's basically the same name as their existing current latest timecode box, which is the Tentacle Sync E, but just with the word track slid in there in between the sync and the E, because it will be recording tracks. So yeah, this is basically a super miniaturized recorder with timecode, of course, because that's what Tentacle is famous for. Because Tentacle themselves really revolutionized that, the price point and the size for timecode boxes. Before Tentacle came along, timecode boxes were these fairly big, heavy, clunky, and expensive things. And then Tentacle had their Kickstarter and they launched their products. This was maybe a few years back. I bought their original first generation ones, even though I actually knew the second generation Tentacle Sync E was coming out. But I needed them like right now for like a feature film, so I couldn't wait around for Tentacle Sync E to ship. Although I use Tentacle Sync E now as well. I used them on a shoot this week, yesterday. So they're really great. And anyway, so these new Tentacle Sync Track E's, they basically look the same, slightly bigger than the Tentacle I'm chopping over my whole own tongue because I'm so excited. But basically, they are just very slightly bigger than the Tentacle Sync E's, which are themselves only slightly bigger than the original Tentacle Syncs, and they're basically a small matchbox. So think of this new track recorder that Tentacle has brought out as basically like a large matchbox size. It is really, really small. And so yeah, this just opens up so many like possibilities in my mind as to what you could use this for. For instance, maybe you want to have a backup recorder inside your own bag, because on for instance like a cart rig, some people might simultaneously run a backup recorder, because it's very unlikely that your recorder will ever fail, but in that 1 in a million chance that it does, you want to have a backup option that's to be able to save the day, or be able to switch over really quickly and fast. And so yeah, you might have, if you've got a cart, you've got the extra space and capacity, you can slide another recorder in there alongside, record the outputs. In a bag, it'd be kind of a bit crazy to do that. Although I have been thinking, like maybe just get the Tascam DR10X, which is basically the Tascam DR10 series, but with an XLR connection on it, or maybe even getting one of the Zaxcom ZF R100s, which is like the earliest ZFR series, because yeah, that is pretty affordable as well. And they're really small and lightweight. They're running like an AA battery or two. It might be a triple AA battery. And yeah, and you can just pop that in your bag, especially because I recently got the Zaxcom Max. It actually only records to one media. Zaxcom has their own odd way that they record to media called MAV. It's meant to be like much safer and more robust than recording to like the normal broadcast wave format that other recorders would do. So yeah, but I still feel like a little bit nervous about only recording to, hello Bevel. It's a Friday night here.
Rico, baby, Rico.
It's a Friday night here in Auckland. So yeah, I will catch up and do some of my own drinking soon enough on this Friday night. Finally actually having one night off. I've got this the Chateau Cardboard Rosé wine that I'm drinking in a Nikon lens. It's not a Nikon lens, it's empty. Well, not empty yet, it's got wine in it. Anyway, as I was saying, where was I saying? Man, I get really easily off track just by myself, let alone with other distractions. Oh yeah, it's talking about how like I might just grab a really small recorder to put inside with my Saxcom Max. So, because although it does record to only one media with Saxcom's system of using the MAF file format, which is meant to be like super more robust and safe, and there's definitely benefits recorded to MAF. Like quite often your biggest problems are not necessarily technical problems, but just human problems. So when you've only got one piece of media, if you like bend a pin on that, or you somehow damage it, or if you're handing it off to the DIT person or maybe a producer or something to copy it off and back it up, like what if they do something to it? I mean, MAF is again meant to be fairly good at robustly holding that, so even if you've got like a virus in the computer and it's messed up everything, it'll still hold up. I mean, I've heard tales of that happening. But yeah, having dual media is nice, and the Max not having that sort of makes me scratch my mind. So yeah, even if I'm only sending the boom track to it, on that 1 in a million times, if I can save it from the Tascam DR10X or the ZFR 100 from Saxcom, whatever, for the 1 in a million times to save that day, even if it's just a boom track, it'd be really handy. So yeah, that'd be one possible use for something like this new Tentacle Sync Track E, which is so tiny. There's other uses for it, like for instance, maybe you're just simply an RF howl and you just cannot get your wireless to work for whatever reason it might be. There are many possible reasons as to how that might happen. It could be handy just to have this in your bag to, hey, save the day and have another option to at least still be able to capture some audio on those really wide and difficult shots. What other uses might you have for it? Or maybe you're doing a drop bag recording for some reason. Like a very common example of a drop bag recording is if you are going to be, say, recording in a car and it's such small cramped space and they're like, nope, there's no space for the sound man, you need to get out of here, because sound doesn't matter. Oh my goodness, but yeah, that happens quite a lot. I mean, we've got space for the cameraman, we've got space for the director, we've got space for the first AC to pull focus even, but no space for the poor old sound man to record the other half of the film that's sound. Anyway, so you drop the bag in there because there's no place for you to safely be in the car. Well, I mean, sometimes it's a bit of a hassle to like rip your bag apart and re-rig like how you might have a drop bag system, and especially hardwiring stuff in or whatever. Or yeah, so maybe you want a really simple and quick to go ones, especially like if there, for instance, it's going to be a transitionary shot. Like maybe they do a long drive around and then they get out of the car and they seamlessly like go out of the car together with you know, the gimbal guy following it out. Like how can you like seamlessly follow that when you've dropped your bag in the car? Or maybe like there was one feature film I did overseas in Sydney back a couple of years ago, and they actually were filming inside two cars, two different cameras, and they sort of, as they passed each other, shooting from one side to the other, as people in each car sort of talk to each other, and like, how can I really drop a bag in both cars? It was just like, I mean, luckily, like my boom up I had for that day, he also had the same like F-series recorder as I did, and we just dropped one of our bags in each. But yeah, but this would be an example, if you're carrying around some of those Tentacle Sync Track E's, you're able to save the day and put them up. So you could just simply, like any like visor will be able to easily hold the weight of one of these Sync Track E's up there, and then you just put a little lav out there and there's your little plant mic up just above the visor for where the person's talking on each side, and boom, done, problem solved, easy, gone. What's some other examples? Like it could just be good like for maybe you got a really, really difficult costume. Maybe it's just a super tight, skinny, maybe it's a swimsuit. You've got a really difficult costume and you can't put any of your normal transmitter packs in there. Well, this little Sync Track E looks smaller than any of the Bodypack transmitters I own. So again, like it's not going to be ideal. You'd much rather be able to record the audio, but if it's a choice between having nothing on the person and something, I'll take something over nothing. So yeah, so I mean, I'm just getting started and thinking up ways you could use the Sync Track E. It really is quite exciting, I think. And so more comments about it. So like, we really don't know much info yet because IBC hasn't actually happened yet. It happens this week coming up. But you know, they've sort of pre-announced this already on their page at Tentacle, on Facebook and Instagram, and you can, they say, find out more at IBC, which I'm looking forward to those reviews of those people who are at IBC. I'm jealous of you. Blog, share, lots of IBC, I want to know more. Anyway, so going back to it, I've noticed that as you can see in the photo that's shared, it's got like a locking connector, which I guess is something that people complained about, that the original Tentacle Sync didn't have a locking connector, and that's something they improved with the next generation, the Tentacle Sync E, like the sort of ridge, and so when you're using the normal cables, they have a right angle to it, that sort of like slides over and locks it in place. Now you can't really do that with lavs, because lavs aren't normally with the right angle connector, and there's so many different lavs you might use with it. So I see they've got like a locking 3.5mm connector. So I do wonder what that's wired for. It's almost certainly for Sennheiser. Unfortunately, I tend to have all my stuff with Sony wireless, so I think my lavs I already have, which are either for Sony or Electrosonics, won't be able to use with that, but I don't know, adapt or maybe just buy a dedicated lav or two for it. What else can I think about it? Oh, so Tentacle already has like 3 awesome apps for it. They've got the app that you use to set up the timecode box. They've got an app that shows you a time bar, so you can like Velcro it to a dummy slate and still see timecode, or you could give it to the script supervisor so they know what the current timecode is when they're making notes. Yeah, just like a really useful thing if you don't want to like have people accessing the full app where they might be messing with stuff. It just shows the time. So the time bar is a really cool app as well. And then another cool app that Tentacle has is they have like an audio recorder. So it's basically kind of doing the original thing of what their new dedicated hardware does, but instead of using your phone. So basically you run this app on your phone, and then over the Bluetooth from that's one of the new features in Tentacle Sync E, is it will sync up over Bluetooth, get accurate timecode stamped files on your phone. But of course it's going to be annoying to like have a bunch of phones or use other people's phones, or who knows what's the variance from one phone to another. So yeah, having a dedicated device for this, it's also so much smaller and lighter than a phone, is definitely makes way much more sense in using this. But yeah, if you're in a pinch, or if you're just like a casual vlogger, YouTuber kind of person, I mean, you can just buy one of these Tentacle Sync E's, stick it on your phone, and plug it here into your phone, put it on the person, and away you go. Although for myself, I'm just running a hardwire of my Aperture A-Lav into my Panasonic G6. But that's because like I'm never going to be further away than this with my arm. But whatever you're say, doing a little YouTube skit, and the person might be walking up to people or whatever, and you don't want to be hardwired to them like I am down here, which I'm trying not to trip over. And also, this is making my arm tight. There's a reason I chose to use my left arm with this, not my other arm, and that's I actually had a crash just recently when I was cycling my bike. I just sort of went swoosh, and I fled along the road, and I got a bit of a nasty road rash down one side of my body, and now I'm not being quite the same, but it's almost better, and like I haven't had like too much arduous work, but I thought might as well just still keep my arm easy and fresh. It's not tired it out any more than it needs to be for tomorrow's shoot. Getting on back on track, what was I talking about? I was talking about the 3 apps that Tentacle has. So I've got that audio one, they've got the setup one, and they've got the time bar one. My hope is, what if they bring out a 4th app? A 4th app. That 4th app would be a video one. It'd be like the current audio one that allows you to record audio and have it time-stamped. But this time, what if you could go around filming with your video, and you could just have everything time-stamped? And that way you could put one of these little basically doing the reverse of what I'm talking about. Rather than having like a timecode box on your camera, you'd have a timecode box that is your audio recorder, and then you'll be able to sort of sync it up with your just casual iPhone filming that you're doing. Because like if you want to go real discreet with your filming, maybe you're at Disney World or whatever, you can have these lavs that are going to a really good little lav recorder with timecode, these new Tentacle Sync Track E's. And then you can just pull out your phone anytime you like and record little bits and clips there that'll get instantly synced up perfectly. I think that'd be a really good idea, something to think about for Tentacle to make. Video recording app with timecode. Anyway, I am rambling on, and I'm trying to remember all the things I wrote. I did something very unusual today, you know. I did make a little list of things I want to make sure oh yeah, what's going, like we don't know if it records stereo or not. And so I mean, I assume it's going to be recording mono, but if it does record stereo, that would be really handy. I mean, at the minimum, it's stereo a bit like the Tascam DR10L does, which just does a safety track. But if you could record stereo in, that means if I'm using it as a backup recorder, I would be able to just simply send, not making that choice between my boom or say like an auto mix to the lavs. I could just send both of them as a backup to the recorder, because yeah, stereo backup in your bag recorder would be quite handy. Also, you know, if you're doing like that setup in a car, I mean, 2 lavs at each side of the car would cover it, and then going into a stereo recorder, you only need one of them, so that'd be another really good. There'd be so many uses if it was able to do stereo, but yeah, I kind of doubt that. It's probably just mono. Actually, going back to the point about it being perhaps maybe if it's doing dual track stereo like the Tascam DR10L does, which basically just has a safety track a fixed amount below the main track, that makes you wonder, does it have the option to do 24-bit? Because the really big thing, that was actually one of the big factors why I first started talking in this whole video that I started, but I've just been going on wild tracks and I've got even around to it, is that it's doing 32-bit. There's so many recorders coming out lately that are having 32-bit. Of course, the very first one to announce that, of note to us sound mixers as a field recorder, was the SOOOO F6, which unfortunately has been delayed a little bit. And then the new second generation mixed Pre's also announced 32-bit. Now the good thing about 32-bit is it just gives you more room, more headspace. So back when people were in the bad old days, long before I was alive, when the dinosaurs roamed, well, maybe not quite that long ago, people would be recording to 16-bit, and they had to be really careful, because if it was too low, you'd be bringing up that noise level. If you were too high, it's just going to be, you had a very narrow margin there with 16-bit. 24-bit gives us a much bigger margin for error. 32-bit just gets rid of that margin for error, kind of, because, you know, the possible range of what the microphone is able to record is like nowhere close to what 32-bit can record. So you've got so much more able to record than what there is there. But yeah, the fact that we're getting all these things with 32-bit, the new mixed Pre 2 generation and the SOOOO F6 and now the Tentacle, I do wonder what's going on here. Are we maybe going to be seeing 32-bit adopted as the next standard sometime soon? I really don't think so, at least not in the next 5 years at least, because yeah, I mean, people have a lot of inertia to them and they do change and move quite slowly. So yes, that's why when the Sound Devices 833 announcement came out and they said nothing about 32-bit, I really did not care at all, because I know it's not going to be a standardized workflow within the next 5 years, which is going to be my estimated lifespan for it before I get distracted and buy a different recorder. If I'm really honest with myself, it's probably going to be less than that. I mean, how long have I had that Zaxcom X for, and already talking about getting a different recorder? Hello, Sound Devices 833. Such a slut, jumping from one recorder to another. And yeah, I've only even had my SOOOO F18 since, well, basically the day it came out, which is it even 18 months yet? Anyway, sidetracked. So yeah, yeah. So 32-bit. We're getting so many new devices supporting 32-bit. I thought it would be a really long time before 32-bit would become an industry standard. I still think it's going to be a long time. Like, it's not going to be within like the next 5 years. It's going to be like, you are required to always have this everywhere. But yeah, it's seeming to like speed up the pace of adoption. The number of ones we're seeing adopt 32-bit. Anyway, going back to one of the things I was starting out the video about was that I think I remember reading, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, quite probably I could be here, but I remember something about like the way that Zaxcom does their Never clip, which kind of is a way of having unlimited space to record any wide dynamic range that's coming in on the microphone to a 24-bit file, is that they do have like a dual AD converter, AD standing for analog digital converters. That's what's transforming that analog signal from a mic to the digital signal that you're recording in your recorder. So they've got like a dual stage there, and that sort of allows them to record them at 2 different levels so that it takes care of the whole wide dynamic range and then sort of merge them back together. I mean, Zaxcom is not totally unique in doing this, but they are sort of in the sound industry because they've got this patent on it that they're preventing other people from doing. But like the ARRI Alexa, for instance, it has its great dynamic range for one reason, due to also doing what Zaxcom is talking about, but long before they did, I think, but in the movie picture world, and having these dual AD converters. But in this case, the analog coming in is the photon sitting the sensor, sending out a signal, then gets converted to a digital domain to record onto your media. for the image. So yeah, anyway, so apparently I think what happened to kind of get around this patent, I think Sound Devices is I saw, do they do a patent for a triple AD converter? Because yeah, if they've got a triple AD converter, that I think that, so they're not doing the double AD converter that XCOM is, and I think that's how it's going. But it does mean, like, what's going on? Is Zoom F6? Maybe the delay is, they didn't say hardware based, I don't know exactly what they're saying it was. Are they going to be, if they patented using 4? Is Tentacle going to be using 5? What madness is this? I mean, it's part of the whole ridiculous of patent system. Just because you add an extra one and just make it truly novel or whatever, I really think, yeah, I'm a bit of a anti-patent person in general. Like, I think it can be argued there's a case for patents, but at least in America and much of the elsewhere in the Western world, it has gone way out of control. Especially software patents, they're the worst. They just got so way out of control, and it's actually stifling innovation. Especially when you're talking about a very, very, very small niche industry like sound mixing is, you know, for movies. It's such a small industry that if you run into a problem, you know, you're being stifled by the legal system that the government backs up. If you're a small company in a small niche area, you don't have the resources to actually fight to see justice done and say this wasn't a truly novel, worthwhile patent to give it out for. So generally what's happened whenever XCOM has sort of shown up, people have got just thrown in the air, hands up in the ears and going, nope, sorry, we give up, we can't do anything. So yeah, they just throw in the towel. And so that's what Tascom did, because, you know, I mean, Tascom is, to be fair, a much, much bigger company. But for them, like, the Tascom DR10N is just like such a minor, unimportant product for them. They're just like, fine, we won't sell it in America, just where they got the patent for. So they just basically had their 10DRCS for everywhere else in the world, and then the 10DR10L for North American market. And then similar for Sonosix, which is a really small company. They're like number 3 or 4 size player in like the professional audio recorder world, if you don't count like Zoom and Tascom, which would be way bigger than Sonosix by many multitudes. Yeah, so like Sonosix is a very small player, although they make some amazing equipment. Yeah, so Sonosix wanted to sell their SXR4 Plus. Hey, there you go, my memory. See, when I try to remember stuff like that, I can. When I try to remember something like curtains, I can't remember the word curtains, like in my past video. Amazingly weird minds we have, especially mine. So yeah, so they couldn't sell it because they were also sort of using some similar thing to give an extra wide dynamic range to their microphones, to their preamps. And so Dixon just said, nah, sorry, no, we're not going to let you do this. So they sell a completely different version in America, Sonosix, that doesn't have the same specs. Anyway, finally somebody has decided to say enough is enough. And when XCOM went and bashed down the doors at Electrosonics, complaining about one of their record, actually, wait, hang on. XCOM has a few patents. This was actually the patent to do with, so I was kind of getting mixed up here between some of the patents, because XCOM's got a patent over like a small Bodypack recorder that sends out a signal, which is what the Tascam was overlapping with. And then Sonosix has got, you know, that sort of never clip patent they're apparently overlapping with. So anyway, there's lots of different patents going on that XCOM is enforcing. So anyway, finally one of these times, one of the patents, not all of them, just one particular one, one of the companies finally said enough is enough. And Electrosonics apparently, when XCOM went to them, said, yeah, no, so we don't agree that this patent is nonsense. We're actually going to not just say it, we're going to go to court and we're actually going to see you there and fight this out. So yeah, currently they're having, oh look, somebody else has a camera here, doing selfies. Oh, gone, whatever. I get sidetracked by butterflies. Yeah, so there's this court battle between Electrosonics and Sonosix, and we'll see how that plays out. And so yeah, actually, we're talking about like how there are different patents to talk about. It's quite possible this Tentacle Sync Track E could be having troubles with both of the patents from XCOM that I've just been referring to. Both the fact that it's got a headphone output. Oh, I forgot to mention that as a cool feature. So much, like, they haven't said much about it, but just by looking at the photo and little that's there, like, it looks like a really interesting product for Tentacle. So it's got a headphone output. I think XCOM is going to be upset about that. And yeah, they're 32-bit. They might be upset about that too. So yeah, we're going to see, like, I really hope that this doesn't mean that Tentacle maybe has a plan just to sell it everywhere in the world except for America, because it would be really sad for the Americans to miss out on what is a fantastic product. Of course, there are always ways you could get around that. What could that be? It couldn't be having a friend overseas buying one and shipping it to you. No, of course not. I wouldn't talk about ways to get around patents, not me. So, where was I? I might just double check my notes, notes that I wrote about this, because I was quite excited about referring to. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that app that they have presumably got for the new Tentacle Sync Track E. I wonder what features that app would have. Like, would it, for instance, have much metadata control? Would you be able to name takes easily and quickly? Would you be able to add notes next to takes? Will you be able to label tracks, if that is you're able to do more than one track? Although I think it probably is just a mono track recording, not stereo. Well, yeah, so what metadata options would it have? Will you be able to play back ones on your phone to listen to it? Because if you've got a Tentacle Sync E buried inside a person's costume, especially if it's a difficult and complex costume, which is probably why you're using it in the first place, you don't want to reach up and down and around in there and say, can I just plug in my headphones and have a listen to the last stick? No. So yeah, it'd be much better if you could just play back and have a quick check on your phone, because you can't monitor it, but you can't really practically monitor it easily, but it would be nice to at least have some level of monitoring capability, so it'll just make so much more reassurance that everything is going well. Oh, and on that topic of monitoring and the topic of 32-bit, I hope they do, if they are advertising big, oh, we can do 32-bit recording. Yes, amazing. But yeah, I really hope it is a 24-bit recording, because as I was saying, 32-bit recording is not an industry standard yet, and it's not going to happen anytime soon. And so, if you've got some workflow, people further down the post line that are really stuck in their old ways, or maybe just don't want to give them a surprise, a nasty shock, and get a phone call going why is this not working? Or even worse, never get the phone call and they're just upset with you and you never know about it. So what if you want to give them 24-bit files that they are expecting? Again, especially because it's unmonitored, it's a little bit tricky with 24-bit to make sure you have got the gain dialed in right. But especially if you get even just one rehearsal take that you can then check on your phone, 24-bit should often be okay. Yeah, this is another thought that I hope it does have 24 bits. Still is another option, not just 32 bits all the time. And what else am I kind of think I've written everything I was going to cover. I'm pretty sure I was going to mention many more things. I had to talk about this in my mind, but I'm seeing I'm running down only 30 seconds, 28 seconds, 27 seconds left on this take, which means I've been talking for basically half an hour. Wow, this is sort of my longest ones. Well, anyway, I've got this very weird day off. Let's drink from my Nikon glass. I actually got into filmmaking because I was originally into photography. I got a Nikon D50. Great one. Anyway, bye, out, see you later. Let's enjoy this night, what there is of it.